Okay, so yesterday we have done the setup of our whole thing, that how we are going to start with. Let's just move further with the topics of Python and Selenium. Now if we talk about Python, Python is an object oriented programming, right? And when I talk about object oriented programming, it totally means that everything that we're going to do is going to be with the objects, right? There will be classes, and inside those classes I'll be making the functions, variable, whatever I require I will be making inside that class area, right? And to access that class I have to create an object. Otherwise, the class functions or variables, they're not going to be displayed to me at all. So if we see that actually does that happen or not, or it's not fair, because in Python there are many things which are partially true and which are not partially true, right? So let's see that now. We'll discuss the object and the difference between the object referencing. I'm not going into the much of it, the object and the referencing to it, and why is it actually necessary. Okay, so creation of a class and the functions are way too easy. They're not that complicated. You don't have to give public, static, void, all those things, all those keywords you don't have to provide like we do in Java. Just simple keyword. For function creation, it is def. Def. This is the keyword for creating a function. Now, be it a class function, be it a normal function, this is the keyword which you are going to use. Let's say this is my first function, an independent function. The name is demo1. It will be followed by a colon. And when you'll press enter, it will automatically take a space of a tab automatically. This is because Python is very strict about the spaces. The spaces you provide, whatever you are going to do, if you're having some spaces, it has a meaning in Python, right? Right now, this cursor indicating at a space over here says that whatever I'm going to write next will be under the function. It will be under the scope of my function. So if I just simply say print in demo 1, just that I am sufficient with, and that I want to give like that. Oh, that's wrong. Sorry, a pair of parentheses is missing. This is a normal creation of a function. Def, the keyword, name of your function, followed by a pair of parentheses and a colon. Now, if I'll press enter, it will again give me a space of a tab again. But if I'll remove this space, now I am out of the scope of the function. Whatever next I will be writing, that's not going to be executed in my function. That may execute independently or as per I want to run it, but it will not be under the function. So if I just write one more print statement and I say out of demo1, and after this print statement I am going to call my function. Calling the function is also very easy, it's not complicated. Just the name of the function you have to take, like it's coming in the suggestion box, press enter, and that's it. That's what is the creation and calling of a function, independent function. Now if I run this file, it gives me the output. First it gives me the output out of demo1, which is this. This is the independent statement which is being printed in from this file. And after this independent file, I have called the function. So because of which the output is coming after the independent statement. So spaces are important. If you are in the space, that means you are going to be in the call of the function. Otherwise, it will be reacting like anything else. Same way the function creation has been done, the same way is the class creation is also being done. Let's say I have a class demo Classes are not compulsorily to be having a pair of parentheses. If you are using the concept of inheritance, at that time only the parentheses are required, otherwise they are not. You can just follow them by the semicolon and that will be fine. Inside this you can do anything. I'll be making two functions. Let's say demo 1. I'll come to this self keyword, that why it came and what's the reason of this being coming. Just give me 1 minute. In demo 1, def demo 2, here I will be calling demo 1. Okay, so now what have been done in this class, I'm going to remove this for the time. Like, so the class I have been made, the keyword is simple class followed by the name of the class you want to give and a semicolon. Space, automatically when you will press enter, the space will be coming, so that it defines that whatever you are going to do will be inside the class only. The scope of the class will be until you remove that space and you go back to the margin. Right, now again if I go back to the margin, I am out of the class scope. Whatever next I am going to write, it will be treated as an independent part. Okay, the function creation we have just seen above, that how the function got created. Now coming to the question what the self is. The self is a keyword which automatically comes when you create a function inside a class over here in Python. This is helpful to use the class variables, the class functions you are going to make inside the class only. Like, right. So using the self, there were 3 functions made, demo 1, demo 2 and demo 3. Using the self keyword, inside the class only, I called the function demo1 inside another class function. Using this self, whatever you have done in the class, that's all going to be displayed over here as a list over here in the suggestion. Like you can see, 3 of my functions are being displayed over here currently. If I have variables also, they are going to be displayed as well. So this is to access the another class functions and variables that you're going to make. You don't have to write it. As soon as you will start the pair of parentheses, the self will automatically come. You don't have to write it manually. That's the use of self keyword. It's only in the case of class functions. In the normal functions, it's not going to come, just in the class functions. Okay, now this is what we have done in the class. Let's say out of this class I want to call my demo2 function. So let's just try calling that without creating an object. I'm not creating any object. I'll just will say demo2. But right now there is only one function which is displayed, that is demo1, which we have created above in line number 1. That is that function which is being displayed. My class function is not being displayed. So why? Because the class functions are encapsulated, they are hidden inside the class scope, and to get them accessed I have to create the object. Now how to create the object? Creation of an object, same as we did with the calling of a function, the same we have to do. The name of your class followed by a pair of parentheses. That's it. Your object of demo class has been created over here. If I'll put dot, now all those 3 functions which I have created, they are being displayed like this over here. Let's say I want to call demo2. I was trying to call demo2, so I will call this and I will rerun my code. and what I got is in demo 1, because demo 2 function is actually calling the independent demo 1 function. So that's what we are getting over here. You can either have anything inside that will be executed. Right. Now, suppose I want to call all these functions at one go. So what I have to do? I have to take the use of the object only. Right. So I have to create the object to call the another functions. I'll say demo 1, then I'll say demo 3. Demo the object, and then I'll call the demo 3 functions this way. But now over here there are 3 objects which are made separately, plus they are the hanging objects. They are such objects which I want to use later on, I won't be able to use these objects later after some time. Right. Might be right now there are only print statements in my functions, but maybe I have some data to store. Right. I have the arithmetic operations being operated over here, and I want to store the result of that. So if I create the object like this, an hanging object which has no reference, which has no storage anywhere in the memory, or I don't know what the address is, so I won't be able to retrieve that result which I have stored. So just to make sure that I will be able to recall the object once made, what we do is we create the object reference. Let's say there is a small variable. Now it's a facility that Python provides you. You do not have to specify the type of the variable you are going to use. You don't have to inform it's a string, it's an integer, it's a float. You don't have to tell anything like that. The interpreter automatically interprets that what is the type of the variable. That you can check by the inbuilt function type. You don't have to do that. Right. So this is just a variable that I'm going to make, and to this variable I'm going to assign the value. What will be the value? The object will be stored into this variable demo. In my memory now a space will be created, and that space is having a name now, demo, a reference. Right. Using this reference only, using this demo variable only, I can call all the functions I want only just by creating one single object. I'm not creating many objects, I'm just creating these objects, one object, and I'm able to call all of these functions at one go. And even if I have stored some value inside these functions, I can simply say demo, retrieve that value. This is the main difference between the object creation and creation of an object reference, which is me. Because people get confused that this is the object. This is not the object. Clear? Any questions over here?
So this one is called as a reference, correct? Object reference thing.
Yeah, at the line number 18, the demo word that we have used, that is the reference.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, now this was main, because further on what we are going to start with is also based on the same concept of object oriented programming, right? Because Selenium also have classes being made, and to access those classes, access those class functions which are made inside, they are also going to be visible only when I'll create the object. Now I cannot create an hanging object for that. I'll create the object once and I'll keep on using it. Right. So let's just move further with this concept in mind and taking it further with Selenium. So I'll just will make one more file. Let's say browsers. Now very first thing when we think of automating the browsers, what is the very first thing? To open up that specified browser. If I want to automate Chrome, I want to automate some website. on some URL, on some browser, what that browser is, how to open that browser. That's the first thing. So for that, in our project we have already imported Selenium, right? Now Selenium is a full package. Inside that there are different files made, there are different classes made. So we are going to use them one by one as we require. So firstly, what we need is the class WebDriver. When you'll click on import this name, you will get a link, a number of options over here, but which you have to import is selenium.webdriver, which is a folder icon over here. You don't have to import any of the file from here. Just import selenium.webdriver and that's it. Dot. Now you can see all those options coming up which were coming earlier. I have Chrome, Internet Explorer, Edge, Firefox, Opera. Likewise, I have all the options. So let's say I want to go for Chrome. I want to open up Chrome. So I'll do this. I'll say .chrome. That was one of my class that I'm going to use with the package. And that's it. This is the only command to open up the browser you want to open. Now if I run this file, the new file that I have made, so you can see a blank Firefox browser, blank Chrome browser opened up. The same way I can open up any browser that I want. Let's say I want to open Firefox. Now in case of Firefox, Firefox opens up a little delayed, a delay of around 2 to 3 seconds, but it does open and automates very fine. So just the opening time is the issue. So you can see that time is being taken, but it will be opening a blank Firefox browser for me like this. So I can open any browser anytime I want. But if you do the same thing in your system for the very first time, you might not get the... Okay, I closed the browser in between, so that's why I'm getting this error. We can ignore this error for the time. But let's say if you do that for the very first time in your system, you might get exception that the driver executable file is not in place. Now what that executable file is? All the answers to your questions are available at one place over here. That is the official website of Selenium, selenium.dev. If you open up this file, go to downloads link, from where we downloaded the Selenium, right? From these options only, instead of download, just go to API docs. The whole documentation is available over here. This is the front page. If you want to read about the packages which we are going to use, all those are available over here. Like right now, which we are using is WebDriver. So if this is the documentation, and over here, these are the functions which are inside. I can add some cookies I want. Then I can go back to the previous page which was there. I can look for the current URL, current window handle, deleting the cookies which are existing, or all cookies I want to delete. Likewise, I have a number of functions available over here in the WebDriver class only in that function. You can see, you can read it anytime you want, but I'm not going to go into the details of it. I'll share the link with you so that you can read it if you want. This is the link to read for this WebDriver details. Now coming to the question that if you'll do it for the first time, opening the browser with that command, will you get an error or what? So over here you might get this exception. This kind of exception you may get, WebDriver exception, saying the driver executable needs to be in path. Now what this driver is? So basically, to open up any of the browser, you need to have the drivers available to open those browsers on your system, right? Because browsers also understand the specific language, and the drivers are something which are going to help you to open them. So for every browser, a driver is available by the browser provider. You just need to download them and keep it in your system, right? So let's talk about them one by one. Let's say I want to open up Chrome for the first time. So for Chrome, from where you will get the driver, here are the links given. For Chrome, this one is the one. So I'll open up in a new tab. This kind of page you are going to get. Right. Now which version of Chrome driver you have to download? It's very strict that which version of driver you have to download for Chrome and for Edge as well. They are both almost the same. Just what you need to do is you need to know the version of the Chrome you are using. Right, you can check that from these three toggle buttons. Go to Help, About Google Chrome, and here the version will be displayed, that which version of Google you are using or Edge you are using. So that will be displayed. It's 88.0. This. So you have to look for the same series. So I'll go back, and over here, this is the series that matches with my version of Chrome. So I'll go into it. I'll get a number of zip files available over here. According to your system configurations, you need to download it. If you have Mac 64, Linux 64, Windows, likewise, you have to look for one. Download it. It will be a zip file. Extract that zip file. Out of that zip file, you are going to get an executable file. No need to run that. There's nothing going to happen with that executable file. Run that, just extract it and keep it at a location where you feel it's accessible anytime you want. I have kept it in C drive. In a single folder, I have kept all the drivers, and here is my Chrome driver available. Right, it's available right now. But till time, this command is not going to work. To make this command work, we have to do few steps that I'll come to once we are done with all the browsers, downloading of all the browser drivers. Then I'll come to that at one. Okay, now driver is in your system. After downloading it, what command you have to give to open up the Chrome browser? So you just need to have the command webdriver dot Chrome followed by a pair of parentheses, and to this command you have to pass a parameter. You have to pass an parameter, that is the executable path. That's a parameter itself. You don't have to write it all, just enter E and the variable will come itself. Executable path. And to this executable path you have to provide the path of the location where you have kept the driver for Chrome. Right, we have kept it in C drive, so this will be my path. In C drive, in WebDriver folder, there is the Chrome driver available. So it's a slash Chrome driver.exe, like this. Slashes are important whenever you are going to give some path. Either use double backward slash or use single forward slash. And that is important. Now if I save this and I run this, again the same output will get. I'll get the Chrome browser, and after execution it got closed automatically. This will be the command you have to execute first time. Right. Now coming to the another browser. This was Chrome. Then I want to go for Firefox. So Firefox, the link is available. Open that link. Now for Firefox. Firefox is not strict about the versions. You don't have to be that specific that yes, you have 87 versions, so you want the driver also to be 87. No. There is a reason. Why is that? Let me just open my default Firefox browser. The browser provider, the driver providers of Chrome, they are very quick. As soon as they release the new version of Chrome, the driver is also released in some of the time. But same is not with the Firefox. Might be the version update has come, the Firefox update has come a week ago. Might be the driver is not still available. And because of that only, it might be possible that your Firefox browser does not gets automated. You might get the same error that the driver is not in the path. Right. So just to make sure, what we do is, in the default browser, we stop the automatic update. Usually browsers automatically update themselves as per the version comes. Right. But in Firefox, what we do is we stop that option. If I go to options, I get the options of updates over here. Firefox updates. Right. Currently, I have not updated my version. It's just 79. I have to update it. The browsers are available for this as well. But I have not done. I'll do it in some time. But what you have to do is, below that you can see allow Firefox to. There are two options coming. One is automatically install the updates. And second one is check for updates and choose when to install them. You have to choose the second option. Firstly, you will check that whether the driver is available. If it is available, then you can update your Firefox browsers. If it is not, then you are fine with the previous version as well. As such, there is no difference in the functionality. Both of the versions work fine as well. So you have to do this thing. Right. And to get the driver of it, you already have the link. You just have to open up the link, and here, just by scrolling a little, you'll get this table kind of thing. Out of these, according to your system configuration, you have to download the zip file. These all give you a zip file in here. Just extract it the same way you did with the Chrome driver and keep it at the same location where you have kept the Chrome driver, or if you want to change the location, up to you. Right, this way you have to do. I have it at the same location. That's the Geeko driver. The driver providers gave the name of the driver as Geeko driver for Firefox, so that will be the name. So now if I have to open up Firefox with Selenium, so what I'll do is I'll get this command copied and I'll say webdriver.firefox, and then I have to give the name of the driver, Geeko driver, like this. I'll save this and I'll run this. So there will be two browsers opening. One is Chrome and the Firefox will open like this. And here I have got the result that my code got passed. No error, no exception, and this way. The commands are going to be same, just the path you are going to change and the name of the browser which you want to open. For Edge, I have already told you that what are the main things to be kept in mind. The version. So if I open for the version for Edge, okay. So this will be the page. You just have to open up your Edge browser, look for the version that you are using for Edge. Same way, these three dots, help, about Microsoft Edge, it's opening, just wait. So this is the version that I have been into my system, 87.0.664. So I have to look for the same series of driver to get the drivers over here. That was 88, right? So in the 88 series I have these, and according to the system configurations from these links I will be downloading the driver. Zip file will be received, extract that zip file and keep the location where you want to keep the driver, and command will be the same. So if I just go on webdriver.edge, and in the executable file over here it will become Microsoft WebDriver.exe. Now one thing about Edge is to be taken care of. When you will download the zip file and extract the driver out of it, by default the name might be something else. It might be MS Edge driver. So what you have to do, you have to rename that driver to Microsoft WebDriver with the capital words of a new word, Microsoft with capital M, Web with capital M, W, and driver with capital D. You have to rename it in that form. There is a reason for that. What's the reason? That I'll tell you once we remove these paths from these commands, then I'll tell you. Right. Now these are the three main browsers which are generally used. Talking about Internet Explorer, for Internet Explorer, that is deprecated nowadays. That's not being used. People don't use it because it's way too slow for automation, so we don't use it. But if you still want to use it, if you still want the automation to be done on Internet Explorer, so for that you have to go to the official website, back on the downloads page, and here the driver for Internet Explorer is available. It's not on those links, it's not available, but over here it's available for Windows system. So if you want, you can just get that downloaded according to your system configuration and use that the same way we did the another browsers. Extract the zip file, keep the driver, and run it exactly the same way. Okay, these are the drivers. Now drivers are available with me. What is the next thing? Every time I want to open up the browser, do I have to give this path? The question comes up in mind, right? So the answer to that question is no, you don't have to give the path every time you are going to run it. No, not at all. There is a reason why I have kept all the drivers in one single folder, because what we are going to do is we are going to put all these drivers into my environment variables of the system. I'll just will go on. I'll open up the environment variables in here, and over here in the path, in the system variables, you'll get an option of path. Edit that and you'll get a number of paths already existing. Just go on and add the path of your folder in which the drivers are kept, like I have done it in the second last line, you can see. So even if in sometimes you update the browser, your browser has been out of date and your browser is not opening, so you don't have to all the time update your drivers in the system variables. It will automatically look for the driver from there, updated, outdated, automatically it's going to be picked up and is going to be executed. You just need to click after adding this OK, OK, OK. Done. Now if I remove these paths from here, remove the path from these commands. These are just the commands which we have seen in the starting. Now if I save this and I run this, I got the same output. My browsers are opening exactly the same way they were opening when I have given the path. The reason why I asked to rename the edge driver, that's just because while we will add the environment variable, while we will add the drivers in the environment variables, at that time mswebdriver.exe is not going to be picked up. That name does not get picked up. That has been maybe deprecated because Edge has been updated to Chromium based Edge. So because of that, this change is not applied yet. So to use that without passing the path, if you want to automate Edge without passing the path, do rename it. Okay. So over here everything is working fine. All my browsers got opened and closed. Clear? Any questions, any doubts over here?
I'm good, Jaspreet.
Okay. From anyone else?
Yeah, I'm good too.
I'm good too.
Okay. That's great that you all great. Now one more question comes up over here in mind, that in the starting we said we can operate Opera and Safari as well. The browsers Opera and Safari. You can automate them. There is no doubt in automating the Opera and Safari browsers. It's just that some of the commands of Selenium itself, they don't work very well fine on these two browsers. They're not that stable on those browsers, because of which people do prefer working with Chrome, Firefox and Edge only because they are stable on them. But if you still want to try it, you still want to see that how actually it reacts to your code, to your commands, then you can just you just need to have the drivers of those in your system. From here you'll get the link of, okay, here the Opera browser is not given but Safari is given. You can take it from here. For Opera you can just Google it. You can just say Opera drivers, and here you will get the links. Requirement will be simple. You need to have Opera into your system. Look for the version, and according to the version, get the zip file from here according to your system configurations. Like here, I have this driver for Opera. If I try opening this Opera browser over here, I'm commenting this for the time, and I'll say WebDriver dot Opera. So if I save this and I run this, cannot find Opera browser. Yeah, might be there is some version mismatch because of which I'm getting this issue. But this is the same way you can open up the Opera browser as well. Just need to look for the correct path. Sorry, correct driver with the correct version, and that's it. Okay, clear? No questions, no doubts? You guys say you are good to go. So this was all that is to be covered in this session. I'll request you guys to set up your systems if you have not done till now. Just set up that and try opening the browsers in both ways, by passing the path also and by removing the path also and adding them into your environment variables. Okay.
Sure. Thank you, Jessica.
Yeah, it might be a possibility, one more point. It might be a possibility that after adding the drivers in the environment variables and removing the path from your command, you might get the exception again that the path is not given for the driver. So, need not to worry. The system needs to apply the changes on your environment variables. Just restart your system once and then try to run your code. Then it's going to work fine. Still, if it does not, then let me know. Okay?
Sure.
Yeah. So, thank you. Have a nice day. Do practice, and I'll see you in the next session tomorrow.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Welcome.